Mirror, mirror on the wall, if I peg him, will he fall? Will he be gay or will he be straight? Or is he just doomed to masturbate? Find out in this episode.
Welcome to the Life in Red podcast. This is a way of life that emphasizes positive sexuality, self-love, and confidence. On this journey, red is now your new color. Be courageous. Be passionate. Be sexy. And never stop living your best red life. So now I have one question for you. Are you ready to live your life in red? To join us on this journey, like and subscribe below.
Or several or a whole bunch of prostate orgasms, then go on to get hard and have intercourse? Sometimes, yes, because there's no refractory period for those multiples that are prostate orgasms.
Okay.
And since it didn't involve an ejaculation, technically, then they can go on to get hard. Absolutely. But I mean, it doesn't have to be in. It doesn't have to be in the same session either. I mean, what I tell guys who have partners who because they enjoy this so much, they really want their partners to like it and be motivated to do this. And not all women are. Absolutely not. Not all are like me, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm in love with this, right? So what I tell them is, look, clean up your side of the street. I don't know anything about your life, because they post things on Reddit about, well, you know, we started pegging, but she's not really that much into it, and she doesn't really want to do it very often. And again, everybody has a right to like what they like and not like what they don't like. But I say you need to try and be the best partner you can possibly be in and out of the bedroom, so that your partner is so happy to be with you that they are glad to do things for you to make you happy as well. You know, the happier they are, the more giving they are going to want to be.
100%.
And one of the other misconceptions is that the pleasure is only for him. No. There's lots of ways that actually the women can receive pleasure.
That's what I'm curious about. So it doesn't feel one-sided, because I'm going to be horny over here, and then he's up and like he can't get an erection anymore. Like, okay, like, yes, this is stimulating. This is a stimulating thing. I'm giving pleasure gives me pleasure. But where do I, like, so that's huge. If I know that they're not into it, they're just doing it to please me, which I've had that, it feels like a doll. But like, what do I do so I don't become bitter because I want to get off too? And that's okay, you know?
There's absolutely ways to get off too with the right equipment. They've got all kinds of amazing specialized equipment that can give you internal stimulation, external stimulation. And if you pair the right equipment with the preference that you have of how you like to get off. I mean, there are some women that like to grind against things. There are some women that like vibrations, and some women that like it externally, internally, or both. And there's toys that can do all of those things.
Right.
You just have to choose the right toys. And so can all women have an orgasm while they're pegging their guy? No. But you can get awful darn close.
Oh, I could get creative that way. I do like penile penetration, though. There's something about feeling that warmth of, you know, there's something about that. It's just, I love it.
Well, you may not get the warmth necessarily, but there are toys that can, just visualize this with me for a second.
Sure.
Okay, like a single, what they call flare-based dildo, okay? Mm-hmm. So a lot of them have suction cups on the bottom for like solo play for shower and stuff like that, right? And you can take two toys that have suction cups, any two toys of any shape, often even from different companies, and put them together. And then, so you can have whatever you want in you and whatever you want in him. And then just put it in a harness and bingo, you're good. So if your choice is to have something short and really big around and, fills you up the diameter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he likes the longer thing with the smaller diameter, whatever. And there's an art to it, really, because different toys for different levels of prostate sensitivity on the guy's end of things, too. I teach all about that.
Okay. Well, I was once at a New Year's Eve party. We're going to go into size of toys and stuff like that. I was at a New Year's Eve party and pegging got brought up. Anal play got brought up. This was about 3 years ago, and I had no idea. I just listened. And one of the things said is that people, women in particular, who like to have anal play or have sex from their rear end, that it can mess them up. They're like, all these things medically can happen. And I think that's a good thing to talk about, is the medical concerns that people may have with their prostates.
Yeah, this is how I phrase that question. Is pegging going to ruin my ass forever?
Thank you. I love it.
No, it's not. Not as long as you follow safety rules. So when I very first started my career in this teaching stuff and all that, I was doing all my research and I was reading what everybody else had written before me. And when I found people talking about safety and basically the physiological response of that area of the body, here's what they were saying, and it was incorrect. Let me preface it with that. This is just another muscle in your body, and the more you use it, the stronger it gets. Wrong. So I put that in one of my articles, right? And some lovely guy left a comment on that blog post, a really long comment with such physiological specificity that clearly he was a medical professional, because I've worked in the medical profession a bit.
Right.
And I know like nomenclature and stuff like that. So basically he taught me what this is about. And he talked about working in an emergency room and that he liked pegging too, but he never told me his name because, who wants to be associated with the woman on the internet that teaches this?
I do.
But, and I'm thankful for that. So there's 2 concentric rings, right? Sphincters at the enter of your anus. The outer one is voluntary muscle tissue. That can stretch a long way. Maybe you've seen the porn videos and go back to where it was before. No problem. The internal one is different. The internal one is involuntary muscle tissue, and that can only stretch so far before you stretch it out and doesn't work anymore. Oh my God, you say that sounds really scary, but here's the reality of the situation. If you have had in your life a couple of bad bouts of constipation and past bowel movements roughly twice as big as normal, you've already done as much damage as can be done. There's a whole bunch of people walking around where that internal sphincter is not doing anything anymore. And there's like 4 huge sets of muscles in the whole pelvic region that totally compensate for it. So that's one way to think about it. But the other way to think about it is sphincter strength. The reality, the physiology in that area of your body is that there's 2 ways to measure sphincter strength. There's resting tone and active tone. Active tone is when you're actively squeezing, and resting is clearly when you're not. And the whole active and resting thing, the resting tone is that area of the body is 4 times stronger than it needs to be to do its job. So we got some area to work with, right? Now, does that area of the body have boundaries? Of course it does. If you get fisted like 3 times a day, are you going to be fecally incontinent? Yeah, you might be, right? So you really need to take care of that part of your body. But, I mean, there's so much going around it. And there's horror stories. You can almost always find on the internet some kind of horror story about people having to have surgery and an anal resection.
They're just pooping themselves all the time now. That was what I heard.
Pay attention to those stories, because pretty much 100% of the time I've ever read any of them, and who's to know how true they are on the internet anyway.
Right.
There was alcohol and drugs involved. Boom.
Drugs are bad, okay? Don't be doing that pegging, y'all. Come on.
It's like you cannot numb yourself out either physically by having some kind of numbing agent in the lube that you use, or numbing you out. I mean, I've heard guys say, well, I might be able to do that if I was drunk enough. Oh, no.
You need to be able to feel your limits, right?
Pain is an indicator. You need to be present enough to be able to feel that and tell your partner. Because again, and this is so important, if it hurts, you're doing something wrong. It does not need to hurt.
See, that's good to know.
Do you know why I think another reason that women kind of go, whoa, pegging, when their partner asks them about it? It's because anal is becoming less of a taboo thing. There's a fair amount of women experimenting with anal, but sex education sucks in this country. I don't know about other countries. I know some are better, but so as a consequence, even if you've got the best sex education that public schools or whatever offer, they're not going to be talking about anal almost at all.
No.
So people learn about this from watching porn. And again, remember, porn is a show. So you've got no education. You've got no education about how to do foreplay, how it's important to go really slow, how it's important to do lube, how spit is not freaking lube.
Spit is not lube, guys.
No. If it turns you on to spit, if you think that's a cool thing, if that's erotic to you and your partner, have a party. Do not act as if it's a replacement for lube. So anyway, all these misconceptions, and literally, when you're talking about anal penetration in a porn scene, I confirm this with people I have crossed paths with who are people who act and star in porn movies. They say, oh my gosh, we take muscle relaxers, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
To be able to handle it.
Yeah. Well, often because the things that they're playing with are bigger than normal.
Well,
But that really substandard education, which it's really not, it's entertainment, then comes into the bedroom. And almost always it's the person who has the penis who's penetrating the person who has the vagina. And they do it wrong. It's painful. And so that's the experience. And then the woman goes, okay, I'm not into anal at all. Because that's what it's like. So then flash forward a few years maybe, and then they have a partner come to them and say, I think I want to try pegging. So another misconception is when they kind of think, why would you want to do something that painful? Are you into pain? What's up with that,
Yeah.
I mean, if it hurts, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. There's other ways if you want to hurt. That's not one that will benefit you long term. And I like pain. Don't get me wrong. I'm that girl. But not there. I had one guy once. It was one of the first times. It was my husband. I was married back in the day, and he just went from, hole A to hole B and the booty, and just went boom. And it was one of the worst pains.
Yep.
It felt like a contraction, but worse. It felt like something ripped open in me, and no lube, nothing. And I was like, that was awful. So it made me scared, but I like a challenge. I was like, no, I know people like this. I know this could be good. So, but yeah, you got to be careful. I love that you're saying like pain is an indicator you're doing it wrong, and don't get your education from porn.
And foreplay is absolutely essential. I think one of the magic things about pegging is that the role reversal teaches you so many things from both sides of the pegging formula. Like in this regard, what we were just talking about, I have heard from women that after they start doing pegging with their partners, that their partners become a little slower in their foreplay. I wish the word foreplay had never been invented, because it's just part of sex. It's like the first act of sex.
Right.
It should never be skipped. It's always there. It's part of it.
Right.
Anyway, it's like they tend to spend more time. They tend to approach things a little more softly. It's because they have experienced that themselves. And I've had partners who have said, I've never had anybody take that much time to open me up. And I'm like, that is how it should always be done. I mean,
yeah,
you've got half an hour and you say, I want to do pegging. It's like, nope, not enough time. And so there's that aspect of it too, that the foreplay, they learned that, and they learned that, penetration can be kind of an intense thing to take someone into your body. That can be very vulnerable and very intense. So maybe, not every night's a penetration night. They learn that too. And on the other side of things, women learn that running the show and actually doing the thrusting and doing somebody, that's like an athletic event. Yeah, it's totally an athletic event. It takes grace and stamina and endurance and balance and multitasking that women will never understand because we strap it on and it's always hard,
Right.
Guys have to multitask constantly. It's a difficult thing, absolutely. But
I've heard that from my current partner. It's like he's very analytical like myself, and he's like, you don't understand. Like for women, you guys relax, like get turned on, like get aroused. For a man, it's gotta hold the boner, gotta perform, gotta be physical. Even if I like to be on top a lot, but still, so it's maintaining the pillar.
Yeah. Well, one of the ways, because I teach all about pegging equipment as well, because I teach 3 different webinars. One is my beginner's webinar, which has a lot of the stuff that we're talking about and a bunch of other tips and techniques and good positions for beginners and things like that. And then I teach about equipment. And one of the things about the equipment thing is there is a company out there that makes all these wonderful harnesses and things, right? They also make a harness for men. And some men freak out about this. I remember years ago when I used to listen to Dan Savage, who he should be mentioned at some point here because he was the one who was instrumental in creating the word pegging. Wow. He didn't think it up himself. Actually, a guy wrote in and said, hey, can we make up a word, or isn't there a word that can differentiate between lesbian strap-on sex and so-called heterosexual strap-on sex? And so they held they took suggestions and they all voted is what happened. That was in 2001, and pegging won. Right? I crossed paths with that guy on Reddit and I interviewed him.
Wow.
Because he basically came to one of the pegging subreddits that I spend time in, and he said, I was instrumental in helping this word come into being, and I can't tell any of my friends about it.
Aww.
And when I used to listen to Dan Savage, one of the calls that I heard him handle was a woman who basically said, I have this partner, the sex is really good, but I need about 15 minutes or so before I can orgasm with penetration. So he lasts about 7 or 8 minutes. And what can I do, right?
That's a great question.
And so he was giving this woman different suggestions for different things to try. There's numbing creams, there's this. He can do exercises that help him last longer and longer, to edging and stuff. And he said, or he can just use a strap-on himself. And then he said something that just so rung true for me. He said, lesbians use strap-ons and they don't freak out about it. Gay and bisexual men use strap-ons and they don't freak out about it. It's all the heterosexual people that freak out about it. And that was so true back then. But then I wrote an article, and I'll give you the link to this and it can be in your show notes, but I wrote an article called The Case for Penis Owners Using a Strap-On. And I listed all the reasons why it's a wonderful thing. And one of the reasons was no multitasking. No multitasking. They can concentrate 100% on you because it is not them inside you. They're not having to do that. Oh, I need to have just enough fun to keep the boner, but not too much fun because then things will end. So they can take that strap on and just go and go and go and go and go.
And then they can take it off and then get theirs.
Exactly. And if they want to take it off and get theirs in a very quick, primal, no holds barred, take the reins off way, they can do that too because you're already satisfied. There's so many benefits. I mean, you can give your partner a different experience, and so many people always default into the, it's going to be like bigger around or longer. Right?
We could try to match it. I'm open to matching as close as possible.
You can match. It could be that you're really wide. They can only take so much, so you can give them a narrower one and go longer. Could be that you're really long, and that can present its own difficulties. You can use a shorter toy. You can use a curved one. You can use one with texture on it. I mean, you can get one that vibrates. There's all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, as of now where I'm at, there is something about, I am very sensitive. There is something about body upon body, just like holding a baby, that touch upon touch. There is something about human touch that I prefer. As of now, I keep that because I'm trying to expand here. But to put, we're going into a technology age. Put these bits of technology to help enhance your sex life. That seems, and make your partner's experience a lot better. I know, like, for instance, the scenarios I'm hearing now is a lot of men are busy. They're busy. They're working. I'm on the go. And they're afraid of, like, the opposite. Like, is this going to take too long? And, it's so the foreplay and all these things are missing. So that's a whole different thing. But back to pegging, I find it fascinating. I feel my mind's opened up. I still have, of course, like if me and my partner go down this road, I still have fears around like my own things. I think it was because when I found out about the cross-dressing, even though I find it very sexy, I had a moment of insecurity with that. Like, because that means you must be bisexual. But I trusted him at his word which would be okay if it's just like I judge myself for even asking that or being worried about that. But that's where I'm at, and I'm working through that. But like, he wasn't. There was that. He actually went and, just to give you guys some peace, he went and opened his mind up to see if he could even masturbate to men on his own. He went and, because he was from a more liberal family. I'm from a very conservative family. So they would have been okay with him being open. He tried to jack off to dudes, and it just wasn't there for him. It didn't
work.
He tried to, because he wants to be open to all things, push himself to be who he wants to be. And even the ones dressed as women, he was like, there's something about cock and balls. I don't know, man. He was like, I just can't do it. But so then I realized, well, dress as a girl, you want to be pegged. Like, it was like, whatever, So.
Well, and you had mentioned how you really like, body to body and skin contact and things. There's actually toys that can really closely mimic the feel of that, the softness of it, the squishiness of it, the whole thing like that.
Right.
But one last thing, that the harnesses for the guys that can do, that's my dog barking in the background. You can probably hear.
That's good. He's excited. He's excited about what you're about to say.
One of the things about the harness is you can do dual penetration. And you can also do double penetration. So dual penetration is 2 things in 2 holes. Double penetration is 2 things in 1 hole. So you can do all kinds of stuff with that harness. Yeah, absolutely.
So on your website, if people are interested in starting with their partner to explore pegging, on your website, I know you have classes, which I highly recommend you guys check out. But do you have links to kits and toys that people could start at so they can know where to go?
On my website, I've never really wanted there to be a crapload of advertising. And I have actually managed to keep that happening all these years that I've had that website. So over at Pegging Paradise, you will see drop-down tabs that talk about education and things like that. And when I teach the webinars are always available in 2 forms. One would be free, live webinars. I schedule at least one of each of the 3 of the webinars that I teach once a month. And then I have recorded versions. The recorded versions allow you to view it at your leisure, and you get a certificate of completion that you can frame and put on your wall or share on your kink websites or whatever you want to do. And also you have access to it in perpetuity. So you can show it to a partner, a new partner, additional partner, friend, whatever. The only thing you can't do is, you can't charge people to watch it, of course, but Then after you watch the webinar, what you have access to then is a post-webinar email with all kinds of links. Links to articles with information to repeat what I taught you, links to places on the internet that expand upon what I taught you, but also really importantly, links to all the different equipment that I talk about. That's awesome. All there. Yeah.
Perfect.
So, and there's all kinds of links in the different articles, and all the podcasts that I do are also posted right up there on pegging.Paradise.com, and they have the show notes, and that's often, when I talk about different toys and things.
Right. Well, awesome. That helps, because I know that was something I was curious about, if this is a direction we went into in the future. You talked about size and preferences, so we'll make sure to look on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many different kinds of toys, and I just want to say, I can't tell you how often I see people every single day in the different social media platforms that I'm on where people talk about pegging. So what's, my partner and I decided we wanted to explore pegging. What's the best pegging equipment? There are so many factors that go into determining that there's no way there is a one-size-fits-all answer. I can give you brands, but that's not going to help you because body types come into play, both giver and receiver. Prostate sensitivity comes into play. Preferences in terms of appearances of equipment and how the harness fits and everything. Preferences in terms of what the toy looks like. Do you want something realistic? Do you want something that has glitter and is pink? I mean, do you want something with a vibe in it? Do you want a vibe for the giver, vibe for the... There's so many choices. Do you want something that has realistic parts hang like the boys? Hanging there, right? The boys. Yeah. Do you want that? And how is that going to work with the harness that you chose? So many choices. So yeah, teach. And all of those webinars that I'm talking about are 2 hours long. I know that's a huge ask for a webinar, but I'm extremely detail oriented.
Well, you're trying to.
I teach for an hour.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. I teach for an hour, give you a 5-minute break, and teach for another hour. But people have said to me, oh my God, this is like a university course. Because physiology, I teach all that stuff.
Oh, it's like a Udemy course. Like, yeah, you're learning all the different things. And that's great. I mean, at least they were going to get taught properly because they couldn't get taught in school. So they're going to hear it from you. Yes. And now, if people want to, what kind of services do you offer in regards to education? Is it like you sell, so you can't charge for the videos, or you can, the training?
So for those 3 recorded videos, there is a fee for those. Absolutely.
Okay.
Those are $40 a piece. And if you want to buy all 3 at the same time, it's $99. $99, right. So there's the beginners, and then there's the equipment. And, the equipment is pretty self-explanatory. I go over everything. And then I teach an advanced class. The advanced class starts off talking about orgasms for giver and receiver, because clearly equipment plays into that. But that's not the only factors by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
And then I share, like, for example, okay, if you are used to being still when you have an orgasm, maybe, you use a vibe or your hand moves or whatever, and all of a sudden you're the one moving and doing the thrusting. It can be a very different experience in trying to reach an orgasm. But then I also share all the tips and techniques that I know for receivers to try and reach a prostate orgasm. And then I show you a whole bunch of more positions to try and inspire people to try something new. But the whole second half of that advanced webinar is people that want to experiment with the bigger toys, longer than 8 inches, wider than 2 inches.
Okay.
I teach you why people do it, what they get out of it, how to do it safely, the physiology involved, and where to buy the toys that keep you safe. And, talk about stigma. There's a huge amount of stigma with guys who play with big toys. Absolutely.
I feel the same with women. I know exactly what I like as of now inside of me. It's only 2 inches deep, a little bit forward. And if I'm turned on, sploosh, like it's right there. It's not how long it is. It's not way back inside my guts. It's right there. So it's like, there is a stigma. But now let me ask you this. This is a question. Do women have the same sensitivity in their prostate as men?
Women don't have a prostate. Oh. Women don't have a prostate. That's okay. Only men have a prostate. But there are so many similarities between what we know about internal clitoral stimulation and prostate stimulation. Literally the location of where they say the supposed G-spot is located. And I say supposed because there's no such thing as a G-spot, okay? There's internal clitoral stimulation and external clitoral stimulation. When they do a dissection on a cadaver, they're unable to find any spot of tissue differentiation. It's anything other than the clitoris. And the clitoris, I've got a 3D model. That's why I was looking around my desk. I've got a 3D model of it, and it's a whole lot bigger than most people realize. So there is no spot of tissue differentiation that's anything other than part of the clitoris.
Right.
But when you do internal stimulation, where we have been told the spot is pretty much the same place the prostate is in a man. It's like about the length of a finger in and toward the belly button.
Yes.
That's where it is. And often there's other similarities as well. So it's not at all unusual for stimulation internally of a vagina to give the feeling, talking about, well, I feel like I have to pee, that kind of thing.
Yes, yeah.
Same thing with prostate. It's amazing. Yeah.
Wow. So if you know yourself as a woman and your partner's wanting this, you can kind of get a good idea from that.
That's why I teach it that way. Yeah,
that's cool.
It's because it's a situation of what we know a lot more about that. Nobody's ever had done any studies about prostate pleasure, so really, it's all we got. But I do know that, like in embryos, the tissue, as an embryo grows, the tissue that differentiates when gender things happen, the same tissue either becomes that internal area in the clitoris or the prostate.
Right.
So,
well, I think I was just wondering, because so many of partners were fixated on wanting to do ass penetration with me, and I think it's a primal thing for a lot of male energy wants to go in from behind. It's like a primal kind of thing, and then I'm guessing the ass is just tighter a lot of times, but I don't know. I was just curious.
Yes and no. And the only reason I know this is because I have a gay friend.
Yeah.
And he basically said, yeah, he had sex with a couple of women in his life before he figured out he was gay. And he said the whole vaginal musculature and the Kegel exercises and the way you can squeeze and that kind of thing, that doesn't happen in the ass. The only area that is affected is right there at the opening.
Okay.
So it's very different. It's sort of like the opening is the main stimulation. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
And so if you were the person who has the penis who is penetrating an anus, that's kind of what I hear. It feels like it's just a ring, and you're playing with the ring, kind of, as opposed to a tube that can kind of grab you sometimes, depending on how many Kegels and depending on the size of the inside and the size of what's in it and all those things.
Yeah. That's interesting. Cause I never felt a lot of stimulation. What turned me on about it as a female, was just the act itself. Like, yeah. I mean, I'm just being honest. For me, that was the turn on. Like, can I take it?
Oh, well, yeah, that's a total turn on. That's why, for so long, the whole, the good nasty factor of anal, taking anal. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But no, I was just curious for the reverse role, wanting, just education on that because I wasn't certain. But all right, well, we're going to wrap this up. I could keep going with you because this is just fascinating. This is just like endless questions. But I want to get you out there. Where can people find you? Can you say again your website where they can watch these videos?
I've got a couple of websites that I would direct you to first. I got a bunch of different places, not just kind of by default, because when I first put up pegging.Paradise.com, about 2 years into that journey, I started exploring BDSM, and I identify as a dominant sensual sadist. but then I realized in my quest to educate people about pegging that maybe I was scaring them away, because there are people out there that want nothing to do with BDSM, but they want to learn about pegging. Mm-hmm. And I was writing stories and putting them up there about beating men and tying them up and things. So I took all of my informational articles and I put them over at pegging.101.com. That was great. And those served me really well for a number of years. And then I got on Patreon. And I was there for 6 years until the censorship hammer fell. And they wouldn't even let me put up a picture of a woman wearing a strap-on. So
no fun.
My Pegging 101 is still there, has lots of information. Peggingparadise.com has so much. It hosts all of my podcasts, and it's been there since 2012. There's a lot of information there. But I also have an educational platform, which is what I use for people to register for my classes. That's called theartofpegging.com. That has a lot of stuff. So if you want to, you can go straight there, theartofpegging.com, because all of my podcasts are there, all 300 and something. When you've done this many podcasts, you say, I want to listen to every single one. And you go to podcast downloader apps. They don't go back that far.
Yes. Yeah.
They simply don't. So you can access all of them there. And I've written over 75 erotic pegging stories, and those are accessible if you're a patron, because I set up a whole patron foundation there as well.
Awesome.
Also, I've copied every single TikTok video I've ever done. I have a TikTok channel. And all the educational stuff clearly is there as well. But it ended up being a bit of a mix. But if you're looking for education, the easiest way to do it is just to go to artofpegging.com. And I think for some people's computers, I'm not real clear on how this works. You might have to put www.theartofpegging.com. I tried to make it so that nobody has to put that in, but sometimes it works, and sometimes people go, that doesn't work for me. So I don't know.
Well, that's great. And that gives everybody, depending on what spectrum you're comfortable, whether you're not comfortable with BDSM and kink, you have your if you would call it the clean version, you have the educational tutorial. If you are interested, you want to go full out, you have that option. You have all of it here. I will list that below in the description.
Okay.
And so you can find Ruby your Instagram's cool too. Ruby Ryder.
Yeah, I have an Instagram.
Yeah.
I had to redo that. They kicked me off of it. Sex education is filled with such censorship, it would blow your mind. They just took away my Instagram, and it was gone one day. And they didn't respond to anything, so I rebuilt it.
That's not nice.
But Anne, coming full circle with your whole goal of eliminating shame around all of this stuff, right? My Instagram, just on a whim, I named it Ruby's World of No Shame.
Ooh.
I did. That's my Instagram. It's so funny.
I love it. Ruby's World of No Shame. I mean, and that's beautiful. It's like you're fighting a good fight. You're putting up multiple sites to try to help as many people as you can. We got to rise up, people, and in our own way fight for the freedom to find who we want to be sexually. And just thank you for being so brave, Ruby. Thank you for doing this for people who just want to enjoy anal play.
The whole sex positivity thing is something that all of us sex educators are working really hard for. And I got to tell you, man, it's a tough gig because we never you talk about you're on so many different platforms. That's intentional. You never put all your eggs in one basket, because at any moment it can all be gone.
Yes.
At any moment. There's somebody I follow, and I was actually on a show, Cam Frazier, who is about men's sexuality. And he had an amazing channel on YouTube. Boom, down. Just like that. No recourse. None. And it was all just conversation. Anyway.
That's what I'm so excited about. And that's why we want to just keep taking notes from you. What we've had to do is just post wherever we can and then get back up. We're like silly putty.
Yeah, and so two other things that I do offer is sometimes people are so intimidated by the choice of all the equipment once they learn about pegging. I offer free personal consultations about choosing your equipment if you shop at my affiliates, because that is part of how I earn money as a sex educator, as affiliate links, of course. And I do private consultations as well, just one-on-one. I am not a therapist, but I have a lot of therapist leanings, and I have been doing this for so long that I do private consultations, whether it is somebody who just wants to try and get more comfortable with their kinks, or whether it's a couple that's trying to work out special dynamics or has questions for me, that kind of thing. So I offer that as well.
And that's so important, because I know some people would appreciate, like someone like me, that one-on-one. So that's good to know. And you guys, make sure you pay her what she's worth, because this is brave what she's doing. I'm serious. So thank you so much, Ruby, for real.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being on. This was an honor. And I can't wait to see where you go, what happens, and to hear more from you.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was a delight.
Yes. And thank you guys. Keep it red. And we will see you next time.
Thanks for joining the Life in Red today, where we embrace passion, confidence, and positive sexuality. Keep painting your journey in bold red strokes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us so that you never miss out on living your best red life. Ready for more? Stay passionate, stay red. See you next episode.